You wake up tired even after sleeping. You exercise more, but recovery feels slower. You eat well, yet your body composition changes in ways you do not recognize. Fat seems to move toward the stomach area. Energy becomes less stable. Motivation is still there, but your body no longer responds the way it once did. For many high-achieving women after 40, this creates a quiet frustration because they are often doing more for their health than they did 10 years earlier. They know about protein, they exercise, they track sleep, they take supplements, they are trying, and still there is the feeling that something shifted. The first reaction is usually self-blame. Maybe I need more discipline. Maybe I need to eat less. Maybe I need more cardio. Maybe I am not trying hard enough. But what if the issue is not effort? What if the body has been living in chronic activation for years, while the mind called it ambition? Many successful women do not experience stress as panic. They experience it as functioning. They carry emotional labor, cognitive load, work responsibility, future planning, and invisible mental tasks simultaneously. They answer messages while eating, think about tomorrow while resting, and often remain mentally active long after the day ended. They become efficient, reliable, and highly capable. The nervous system adapts to this environment and eventually begins treating activation as normal. The body, however, still pays the biological cost. And after 40, the bill becomes more visible because this is also the period where physiology starts changing. Estrogen and progesterone influence much more than reproduction. They affect mood regulation, insulin sensitivity, sleep quality, inflammation, brain function, and stress resilience. Estrogen in particular has protective effects for the brain and nervous system. During perimenopause, these patterns begin changing. Many women notice they suddenly become more stress-sensitive. Recovery becomes slower. Sleep becomes lighter. Blood sugar becomes less forgiving. The same life that felt manageable at 35 suddenly feels expensive at 45. Many women interpret this as personal failure when it is often physiology. This is where cortisol enters the conversation. Cortisol is frequently described as the villain, but cortisol itself is not bad. Cortisol wakes us up, it mobilizes energy, it supports blood sugar regulation, and helps the body respond to challenges. Without cortisol, we would not function. The problem begins when cortisol remains elevated too often for too long. Cortisol was designed for adaptation, not for decades of constant cognitive load, emotional responsibility, and internal pressure. Under acute stress, it is useful. Under chronic stress, it becomes expensive. One area where this becomes visible is body composition. Research increasingly shows that chronic stress influences fat distribution, appetite regulation, sleep quality, and metabolic health. Cortisol interacts with insulin. Sleep influences leptin and ghrelin, the hormones involved in hunger and satiety. Muscle mass affects glucose handling and metabolic flexibility. These systems do not operate separately. They influence one another continuously. When stress becomes chronic, the body shifts priorities. Survival comes before optimization. The body starts asking, "Are we safe?" It does not ask whether we want visible abs. This becomes especially important around abdominal fat because visceral fat behaves differently from subcutaneous fat. Visceral fat surrounds internal organs and is metabolically active tissue. Higher amounts are associated with inflammation and metabolic risk. Chronic stress, sleep disruption, reduced muscle mass, and insulin resistance are all connected with this picture. This is one reason many women notice that the stomach area changes first. The body becomes more protective. At the same time, age-related muscle loss begins if muscle is not actively maintained. This process, called sarcopenia, becomes increasingly relevant after 40. Muscle is not simply aesthetic tissue. Muscle supports insulin sensitivity, metabolism, glucose disposal, bone health, mobility, and future independence. In longevity, medicine muscle is increasingly viewed as one of the strongest predictors of healthy aging. Unfortunately, many women respond to these body changes by increasing pressure. They reduce calories aggressively, they increase cardio, they train harder, they recover less, they sleep less because life is busy. They add more effort to a system that is already overloaded. But under chronic activation, this can become another signal of scarcity. The body hears stress again. The nervous system remains activated. Recovery becomes more difficult. Sleep becomes lighter. Cravings increase. Energy becomes less predictable. One concept that becomes important here is allostatic load. Allostatic load describes the cumulative burden chronic stress places on the body over time. Think of it as biological wear and tear. High allostatic load affects multiple systems simultaneously: metabolic, cardiovascular, immune, hormonal, and neurological systems. The difficult part is that many high-achieving women carry enormous allostatic load while appearing highly functional. They are succeeding externally while internally the system is exhausted. This often shows up as waking at 3 in the morning, afternoon crashes, feeling wired but tired, stubborn body composition changes, anxiety, reduced resilience, or brain fog. The body is asking for recovery while identity says, keep going. This creates one of the deepest cortisol traps after 40. Performance becomes safety. Many intelligent women unconsciously learned early that achievement created belonging. Being useful created value. Competence prevented criticism. Productivity became identity. The nervous system slowly learned that slowing down feels unsafe. Rest creates guilt. Stillness becomes uncomfortable. This pattern appears frequently in high-functioning women, perfectionists, caregivers, women with ADHD traits, highly sensitive women, and women who spent years compensating. The body remembers even when the mind forgets. So what can actually be done? The first intervention is not calories, it is nervous system regulation. Many women try to change body composition while remaining deeply activated. The body fights back. Start by observing the body several times daily. Not thoughts, the body. Is breathing shallow? Are shoulders elevated? Is the jaw tight? Is the body rushing? Many women spend the entire day in mild sympathetic activation without noticing. Awareness comes before regulation. The second intervention is reducing hidden stressors. Chronic stress rarely comes only from major events. It often comes from hundreds of small activators repeated daily. Notifications, multitasking, constant input, background noise, permanent availability, and lack of transitions. The nervous system never receives closure. One practical application is creating deliberate down-regulation periods. Walk without audio. Eat one meal without screens. Sit outside without consuming information. Create a short evening ritual. Use softer light. Let the body experience stillness again. Sleep becomes especially important after 40 because even short-term sleep restriction affects insulin sensitivity, appetite regulation, and cortisol rhythms. 1 week of poor sleep can influence metabolism measurably. Protecting sleep therefore becomes a longevity intervention. Keep consistent sleep times. Reduce evening stimulation, cool the room, protect the final hour before bed. The evening nervous system state often predicts tomorrow's energy. Protein also becomes increasingly important because anabolic resistance rises with age. In simple terms, the body becomes less responsive to muscle-building signals. Women often require higher protein intake and strength training to preserve lean mass. Muscle is metabolic insurance after 40. Preserving it matters more than simply reducing body weight. Strength training 2 to 4 times weekly supports muscle, insulin sensitivity, bone density, and long-term metabolic health, the goal changes from burning calories to building tissue. Cardio remains valuable, but more is not always better. Many women thrive with a combination of strength training, walking, and moderate cardiovascular work rather than constant intensity. Walking after meals improves glucose regulation. Outdoor walking reduces stress load. Walking supports recovery. These simple interventions often create disproportionately large effects. Blood sugar stability is another practical layer. Large glucose fluctuations create energy instability, cravings, and increased stress signaling. Practical applications include protein at breakfast, fiber intake, movement after meals, and avoiding carbohydrate-only meals. Stable blood sugar often creates calmer energy. Calmer energy lowers physiological stress. Modern life also removed transitions. Many women move directly from work to family to screens to bed. The nervous system never receives a signal that the day ended. A simple 15-minute transition ritual can change this dramatically. Walking, stretching, breathing, tea, silence, journaling, or soft music may sound small, but biologically they are powerful because they communicate safety. Recovery itself needs rebranding. Many high-achieving women still associate recovery with laziness, but recovery is where biology improves. Muscle builds during recovery. Hormonal regulation improves during recovery. Memory consolidates during recovery. The nervous system recalibrates during recovery. Recovery is not passive. It is productive physiology. Finally, ask yourself one difficult question. Who am I without performance? Who am I when I stop producing? Who am I when I rest? For many women, this question creates emotion because achievement quietly became identity. The body has often been communicating this for years. The goal is not less ambition. Ambition is not the enemy. Intelligence is not the enemy. Drive is not the enemy. The goal is removing survival from achievement, to remain capable without permanent activation, to build strength instead of exhaustion, to age with muscle, energy, and resilience. Because longevity after 40 is not becoming smaller, it is becoming metabolically stronger, protecting muscle, stabilizing the nervous system, reducing biological stress, creating energy, and building a body that finally feels safe enough to recover. If this resonated with you, especially the idea that performance slowly became safety, let me know below, because many women carry this silently and assume they are alone. They are not. And if complex brain living speaks to you, subscribe. Because this channel is about energy, longevity, and calmer nervous systems for intelligent women after 40 who are ready to stop surviving and start building health differently.